All right, today we are diving deep. We're going to deconstruct the entire playbook for modern Christian evangelism. We're talking philosophy, street-level tactics, the grand strategy, all of it, seen through the eyes of one missionary who's lived it on the front lines. So let's get right into it.
I mean, it all really starts with a question like this, right? Why would you do that? It seems incredibly bold, maybe even a little uncomfortable. But for so many people, this isn't just a random conversation. It is literally the central purpose of their entire life. We're going to unpack the exact mindset that makes this not just possible, but absolutely necessary.
So what is it that drives someone to dedicate their life to this? Well, for the missionary whose journey we're following, it's not a job. No, it's a lifelong mission. And it's built on two core objectives. And you've got to understand this because this is the foundation for every single story we're about to hear. And here they are. First, the goal is personal. Share the Christian message with every single individual they can. But the second goal? Whoa, it's societal. It's about influencing entire nations to adopt a biblical framework for, well, everything, from their laws to their family life. It's a two-pronged attack, targeting both the individual heart and the culture itself. Now, what's really, really interesting here is the kind of mindset you need for a mission this huge. The speaker we're looking at doesn't see himself as some kind of salesman trying to close a deal. Instead, he sees himself as a farmer, adopting that patient, long-term perspective. This idea, it's straight from the Bible, and it's the absolute core of this farmer's mindset. It basically says, look, one person might just come along and prepare the soil, another person plants a seed, and maybe a third person comes by later and waters it. The big takeaway here, your only job is to do your part in the process. You don't have to be attached to seeing the final result yourself. And this just lays it all out perfectly, doesn't it? It shows that long-term view. A conversation you have might just be plowing, breaking up the hard ground of someone's resistance. Another encounter might be about planting the actual seed of an idea. And just maybe, sometimes, you might be there for the harvest, when someone actually decides to convert. But that's probably only after a whole lot of other people have been plowing and planting long before you even showed up. So, what does this spiritual farming actually look like when the rubber hits the road? Well, the speaker shares a bunch of pretty incredible stories from the field that show just how wild and unpredictable this kind of mission can be. Talk about two totally different experiences. On one flight to India, he strikes up a conversation with a graphic designer for Bollywood movies, and it ends with the person converting, right there on the plane, a total harvest. Then, on another flight, he talks to a really famous film director who gets so mad that he starts shouting at him in front of everyone. Now, you might see that as a failure, right? But the speaker doesn't. He just calls that plowing hard ground. The job wasn't to win, it was just to start.
Okay, check this one out. He's in a market in India, and instead of haggling the price down like everyone else, he offers to pay more than the 50 rupee asking price. The shopkeeper is totally stunned, just asks why. And boom, that opens the door for a conversation about the Christian idea of loving your neighbor. It's such a disarming way to plant a seed in a totally normal, everyday situation. And this one, wow, this is intense. He gets confronted by a violent, militant group, a group known for attacking people like him, and they are ready to go. What does he do? He calmly walks towards them and asks, "Why are you afraid of me?" I mean, can you imagine? It completely flips the script. The pure shock of that question took all the air out of the confrontation and actually started a conversation. Get this, two of the men even came back later to apologize. Okay, so all those stories, that's the individual side of the mission. But remember that second goal we talked about? This is about scaling way, way up. From changing one person's mind to trying to change a whole culture's operating system. And this is where the mission really starts to move into the realm of the political. We're moving beyond just one-on-one conversations. The goal here is to actively try to embed a biblical framework of right and wrong right into a society's laws and norms. And that means directly challenging other worldviews, like secularism or communism. This table really breaks down the worldview here. From the speaker's perspective, he's arguing that systems like communism, where the government is the final say, or cultural norms like people living together without getting married, are fundamentally at odds with a biblical system. In that system, he says, God is the ultimate authority and marriage is a sacred thing. But I mean, come on, how can one person, or even one group, possibly change an entire culture's operating system? The speaker argues it's not through politics, not directly through laws, but through something way more subtle and way more powerful. And this is his key insight. Think about it. We all know we're being taught when we're in a classroom or a church,
but we don't really feel like we're being taught when we're just listening to a song or watching a movie. He argues that popular culture, art, music, media, is actually the most effective tool there is for shaping a nation's deep-seated beliefs.
He sums up this entire philosophy with this really powerful quote. The whole idea is that culture is upstream from politics. If you can shape the stories, the songs, and the art that a nation loves, you ultimately have more influence over the hearts and minds of the people than the people who are just writing the laws. So this whole thing leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. I mean, regardless of what the specific message is, this playbook just goes to show you the profound power of a good story. And it makes you wonder, right? What are the stories, the songs, the movies, the core beliefs that are shaping our world right now?